This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We begin today's show in Puerto Rico, where 6 weeks after Hurricane Maria devastated the island, millions of residents are still living without safe drinking water and electricity. Health experts say the storm's massive damage to Puerto Rico's water system is threatening to cause a public health crisis as more and more people are exposed to contaminated water. On Thursday, the White House finally agreed to release FEMA disaster aid with more flexibility to try to help rebuild Puerto Rico's devastated power grid and other infrastructure. The shift in aid disbursement was necessary because of Puerto Rico's massive debt crisis, which both severely limits the island's ability to prepare for the storm ahead of time and to respond fully in the days afterward. According to an investigation by Puerto Rico's Center for Investigative Journalism, quote, the permanent disaster of Maria has been largely due to the slow and inefficient deployment of the emergency response due to a fatal combination between the lack of liquidity of the government of Puerto Rico and its municipalities and the federal government's inaction, unquote. For the last year, Puerto Rico has been controlled by an unelected fiscal control board imposed by the U.S. Congress, whose role is to enact austerity measures to ensure the bondholders of Puerto Rico's debt are repaid. Well, over the weekend, Democracy Now! Was in Puerto Rico. We traveled around 3 hours into Puerto Rico's mountainous highland region in the interior of the island in order to look at the ways austerity has exacerbated the crisis caused by Hurricane Maria. We begin our journey in a town called Flores, about 2 hours west of the capital, San Juan. I began there by asking Democracy Now!'s Juan Carlos Davila, who grew up in Puerto Rico, to tell us about the history of this town called Flores.
So the motto of this town is Lares, Ciudad del Grito, which translates to Lares, City of the Scream. That is in reference to the revolution of 1868 here in the town of Flores, where Puerto Rican revolutionaries gathered to overthrow the Spanish forces from here and declare the Puerto Rican independence. The colonial administrations that continues to administer the colony, saying that the motto is too subversive, that Ciudad del Grito is too subversive, so they have tried things like Lares, city of the beautiful women, or Lares, city of the open skies. So that to, in a way, try to erase the history of Lares.
Let's go over to the street of Pedro Albizu Campos.
Pedro Albizu Campos is a revolutionary leader of Puerto Rico who was president of the Nationalist Party, a Harvard graduate. And I
think he was the first Puerto Rican graduate of Harvard Law School.
So, yeah, Pedro Albizu Campos is a very important figure in Puerto Rico. He stood for the independence of Puerto Rico. He fought valiantly against United States imperialism. So here, the important thing about Pedro Albizu Campos being here in Lares and his street here in Lares is that he represents the continuation of that struggle of the revolutionaries fighting against the Spanish forces. And for that, he was in jail and he was tortured, and many believe he
was in prison for decades.
Yeah, he was in prison for many years, and it is believed that he was tortured, and they experimented with radiation on him.
In Lares, we meet up with Martín Cobian, a professor at the University of Puerto Rico and a member of the Center for Transdisciplinary Studies in Agroecology. We head about an hour further into the mountains to a region called Las Marias.
Hurricane Maria, devastated very much so the Highlands, but from another perspective, it also uncovered what was already a national crisis. Remember that we've been under austerity measures for I don't know how long now. I mean, it's as far as I can remember, it all feels like we've been under austerity forever. And one of the areas most hardest hit have been the Highlands. Not only in terms of the type of economies that municipal money used to bring, in terms of employment and so on, and services people used to have access to, and they've lost them. But also in terms of just people leaving, migrating, because it's just untenable to sustain a livelihood. So Lares, for example, and Las Marias, where is the place where we're going now, are two of the most. I think they're one or two, or within the 5 poorest municipalities in Puerto Rico, and also the ones that have lost most population over the last 5 to 10 years.
So, in a sense, Maria not only exposed the fault lines and the weakness of the situation here, but it exploded those fault lines.
Yes, that's exactly it.
As we're driving through the mountains, we reach a part of the road where the hurricane has swept away the earth below the pavement, which is something we had to be very careful about everywhere we drove. We talked to a man whose house itself was precariously balanced between the road and what is now a cliff the earth swept away below.
Yeah, it's the main road. If you want to go to Maracao, you can take it. You can cross it now, but it's dangerous, and if it stays like this, the road will fall off the precipice.
We keep driving with Martin.
One of the main, if not the sole income for most of this area is agriculture, right? And most of the agriculture in Puerto Rico has been, destroyed or has been, sustained heavy damage. So this is a big concern because the type of agriculture that you find here is a lot of it's coffee production, and for coffee to grow, it needs at least 3 to 4 years before you start producing. So you had a lot of trees that were, adults and they were producing and they were sustaining, a small, from large to, small peasant economies. And that has been destroyed. The devastation is immense. It's immense. I have a lot of friends, small peasant farmers that, they lost everything, and many of them are actually thinking of quitting and moving to the city or actually migrating.
We've just arrived in Las Marias, and we are coming to a place where doctors are coming to meet with people, bringing water. We passed an oasis where people gathered to get fresh water, and now we're going down to the field where the doctors are. What kind of doctor are you?
A general practitioner.
And your full name?
Jose A. Ramirez.
And your name?
Stephen Roman, and I am internal medicine.
Can you tell us what you were doing today?
Well, today we came here. We've been doing clinics since the hurricane. Every Saturday we've been doing clinics.
What are people's major complaints?
Their medicine. They are unable to get their insulins, unable to see their doctors, and pains and so on. So, I have hypertension, diabetes, and stuff like that. Right now we're doing the statistics on how many deaths we had during and after Hurricane Maria. I know we had one gentleman who died of a heart attack on his car. Another one after the hurricane with mudslide came and took his machine he was working on trying to clear the roads, and it buried him. Other than that, we got problem with oxygen, problem with home care and stuff like that, and the oxygen and all that stuff.
And I want to that the people need to know that in Puerto Rico there are more than 50 cases of leptospirosis that are death patients that not
People died as a result of leptospirosis.
From the urine. Mice urine. People will eat the food without cleaning and washing or anything, and they'll eat that and they'll get sick from it. And usually the outcome is really bad.
How would you say the state, FEMA, how would you rate how they responded?
Compared to George, a couple years back, they've been slow. It's been slow. Politics in the States, have been affecting us here in Puerto Rico. There's a lot of misgivings and stuff like that. We haven't been receiving the help as soon as we needed it.
What did you make of President Trump saying that the people of Puerto Rico want everything done for them?
Well, the first thing is not people of Puerto Rico, it's U.S. citizens. We are U.S. citizens. That's the first thing. It's not people of Puerto Rico. It's U.S. citizens of Puerto Rico. They want help.
Would you say their treatment of you during Hurricane Maria and after was the treatment of colony.
Yes, it was. We're not Florida. Look at Florida. Look at Texas. You know, they got treated really quick. They took them to in the States and to throw paper towels out. They should have flown them in helicopters to see how it was around here.
You're saying that President Trump threw rolls of paper towels. Do you think if you voted for President of the United States, the President of the United States would treat you differently?
Yes, because there's 3.5 million people, and we all have at least 2 in the Senate, and we have at least 5 representatives. 5. And that's a big vote, you know. And the thing is, the parties don't see us, you know, they don't see us, and we could affect the parties in the states too. Right now, you have 70,000 people who left to Florida. Most of them do vote. Most of them do like politics. Most of them will vote, and that will change the politics of Florida in a couple of years to come.
Did you hear about bodies being incinerated in the morgues and those bodies not being counted? And did that happen around here?
The thing is, I certified around 8 here in town. 8. So it was 40-something deaths. I certified 8 after Hurricane Maria. 2 of them were during the hurricane or after, the day after hurricane, and the other ones were after, a couple of days after, a week or so after the hurricane. I heard that. That's why they asked for statistics. I'm writing the statistics down in case when they come back to ask for, so I can give it to them.
So 8 people have died since the hurricane?
That I certified.
Can there be others? Are there other doctors?
There's probably a lot more.
Did the Jones Act being in force in the time the waiver wasn't in place prevent, for example, medicines from getting in?
Well, right now, insulin is, you know, my patients tell me it's really difficult for them to get insulin. See, the thing is, if the United States doesn't help us stimulate our economy right now, you know, we're afraid. They might sell us, you know, like there was a joke a couple years back that they wanted to give Greece to the United States and give us to the European Union. You know, and this is kind of, you know, it makes you think what the United States thinks about us, you know. We just a colony, what we are, do they want to help us or what, you know.
After we leave Dr. Jose Ramirez at the pop-up health clinic in Las Marias, we head to another neighborhood nearby where residents are gathering to wait for a delivery of aid. Along the way, we come across a caravan of more than 100 volunteers, all church members, who are traveling across the island distributing food and water.
My name is Pablos Morales.
Marcos Rivera.
He's the pastor, Marcos Rivera. We come directly from the food bank. We're going all around different cities from the country where we see that there's like special needs and stuff, and we distributing food. That's what we're doing.
What place was in the most need that you visited?
Right now, like, I think it's pretty equal, like, in every part we've been through.
Lo que es Fajardo, Luquillo, Ceiba,
Fajardo, Luquillo, Ceiba, San Juan,
Manatí, Vega Baja, Vega Alta, Morovis, Ciales, Aljunta, toda la isla.
all those cities, all around.
We continue driving with University of Puerto Rico professor Martin Cobian.
Something that we have seen in Puerto Rico is that the communities have had to organize to survive in the middle of Maria and all the havoc that has been created.
We're asking for calm this afternoon, knowing that they're coming from really far away and don't really know the route, but they are going to arrive. They're going to arrive.
We arrive at the community gathering where hundreds of people, mainly women and children, are waiting for supplies to arrive.
My name is Rosa
Rosado. We're here in the neighborhood of Bucabarones in Las Marias, in a small community called La Josefa. We're gathered together in a group of families and we're waiting because we still don't have any electricity. We have to take advantage of these moments. Whenever they're going to bring us things, whatever they are, we have to take advantage of it. We've seen that when we want our leaders to pay attention to us because we feel a little isolated, sometimes we have to demand their attention. My daughter's school, La Hosta, is a shelter now, and I don't think that the school will reopen soon. For a school bus, the streets and the highways are terrible. They're horrible. So as a parent, I wouldn't dare send her. No, no. That said, I understand that the children need psychological support. It's true. They need something to orient them because young people have never experienced anything like this before. There are many children in this community. My daughter is 13 years old and she needs help because she's in special education.
Carmen Vega. My name is Carmen Vega. Everything here was destroyed. It's not easy to be struggling like this, washing everything and doing everything by hand. There are sick children, sick elders. That's how it is here. In terms of health, the worst was that my father vanished. He died. So that hasn't been easy for us. But we're alive. We have to thank God that we're alive.
My name is Rosita Ruiz. I want to say hello to my son, who lives in Philadelphia. I don't know if this will reach there. My son, Eliomar Justiniano, I've only been able to communicate with him twice since the hurricane, but I send him greetings from here. I want to tell him that I love him. He knows the situation, that what's happening here, and he's worried. But thank God, we've been blessed throughout all of this, because he saved our lives, and my home wasn't damaged. But emotionally, although we haven't suffered physically, this affects us emotionally and mentally, because my husband now is taking care of me, and he's disabled also. In my condition, and with my husband being disabled, because he has a disability, he understands that he has to take care of all the work at home. It hasn't been easy. Understand this. It affects us emotionally because we're alone. Our children are not with us. I have one son in Philadelphia and another in Mayagüez. We're depending only on this neighborhood where we live. We don't have any other family. The only support is from the church and our neighbors, our friends. We are all extending our hands to each other. In other words, we're all helping each other because we are all suffering the same. And honestly, we're thankful to God that we can help each other.
My name is Anthony Justiniano, and I'm Rosita Ruiz's husband. A lot of people have been affected by the storm, and they've had to leave for many different reasons. One is that they've lost their jobs. Another is that, although there's some aid, it does arrive. When it arrives, people sometimes need things urgently to survive. Education is on hold. The children have not been able to return to their schools because of the transportation issues. It's not as easy to travel as it was before the hurricane came, but we're still fighting. If they could bring some form of psychological help so people could strengthen themselves during all this. Even though we're serving God, we have internal emotions that affect us as human beings, because we're all human beings and we need psychological support to help us and strengthen us to face all this. It's really important.
My name is Antonia Feliciano. I live in 4409 in a section called Pariachi. Since I moved there, there's been no electricity. I've been living there for 28 years. My husband died recently, waiting for the light, and it never arrived. The thing is, I live far from the community because the section in which I live, Pariachi, is 2 kilometers away from the Bucarabones, where we are now. This stretch has never had electricity. It was in the mayor's hands, and he kept telling us that they were going to put in electricity, but it never arrived. I am an elderly person. I'm 75 years old, and I use insulin and medicine that needs to be refrigerated. So whenever my neighbor has electricity, I put my medicines in his home.
We've been waiting here since 1 p.m., waiting, and now it's 4:25 in the afternoon. We're waiting for them to bring us food, water, everything, because in this moment, anything that they bring us would be good. The hurricane was horrible. My house is on the side of the road, and the part of the road that leads to my house collapsed. When I go home, I feel so depressed, and I cry because the road has collapsed.
And we will be grateful that when they arrive, for all of us to please get in order as you know how to do. We're asking for calm, okay? They need the cooperation of each and every one of us. So then, not now but then, we will form a line.
It's now been 6 weeks since Hurricane Maria, the worst storm to hit Puerto Rico in 90 years. Millions still lack clean water and electricity. Special thanks to Sam Alcoff, Laura Gottesdiener, Juan Carlos Davila, and Dennis Moynihan. When we come back, we look at the president's tax plan. He says it's a Christmas gift for the American people. Others say it's a gift for America's elite. We'll look at how the world's elite benefits from global capitalism with former Greek finance minister Yanis Varoufakis joining us in our studio. His new book, Adults in the Room: My Battle with the European and American Deep Establishment. Stay with us.